allowing time to get away from me today. And didn't get something very sharp in my boot. Maybe it's my toe. It's definitely not my intellect. Anyway, I'm just going to wait a little while, have a cigarette with you guys, and hopefully a couple of people will pop in. Anyway, I do owe you guys an apology. I was busy a lot of the day and had expected to have my evening free. Hi, Kingdom. Nice to see you. As I was just explaining, I had expected to have my evening free tonight, but got drafted by Yiz for the Discordant Dragons. What the hell? Come on, live chat. You know you want to work. Top chat. Live chat. There we go. Okay. So yeah, and I see I've got 2 watchers. Thanks, folks. Yeah. So I owe you guys a video for today. Unfortunately, because time did get away from me, Sasquatch says he's watching a movie in StreamYard if I'm interested. I'm actually headed to bed here fairly quick. Just doing a quick chill stream after the Discordant Dragons. Mostly, as I was saying, because I owe a video for the day. My expectation had been that I would have my evening free and I would be able to do a little bit of woodwork out here. My intention had been to make the last few cuts. Kingdom says he thinks the new ship the Canadian Navy is working on is cool, but its biggest problem is that it doesn't have enough teeth. Well, as long as they don't call it the Beaver. But anyway, like I say, time got away from me, and it's now far too late in the evening to actually start doing anything with power tools. And I'm very tired anyway, so what will happen is that, better stick to tradition here. There we are. Beaver Destroyer. Well. You know, you guys have one cool animal mascot or symbol, the bald eagle, which we have quite a lot of them around here. They are beautiful animals, but we've got things that are scary because we've got things that can change the course of rivers, and well, things that will just kill you if they're too horny or too angry. Beavers and moose. Okay, so that was not what I wanted to have happen on stream. It's called the Harry DeWolf class. Now that must be Harry DeWolf. That's a familiar name, but I'm thinking it's War of 1812. Harry DeWolf. Christopher, the French who want the aspiring Frenchman has arrived, I see. Malamute class destroyer. Now, if it was going to be a breed of dog, it should be the poodle destroyer. So yeah, don't really have a lot to talk about. Did a lot of talking on the stream with Yiz, obviously. And I mean, I can shill out a few things. You know, I have Sultans shades on Thursday, my stream on Sunday. Yeah, I think I'm starting to suffer a little bit of burnout, so yeah. Do I think Malamute or Husky would be a good destroyer name? Personally, I would rather that it was a heavily armed icebreaker, and they named it Ivan of the Yukon. Oh, awesome! That's great to hear, Christopher. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy having a talk with Yiz. She's enlightened. Is probably the best short descriptor of it. Yeah, if I was going to pick a dog breed, I'd probably call it the Landseer class, which is the multicolored Newfoundland. Especially if it's going to be a naval ship, because Newfoundlands are the best swimming dogs out there. Um, I would expect that most of the U.S. icebreakers are in Alaska. I don't think you guys have any territories north other than Alaska, do you? Trying to think. Oh, hi, yes, thanks for popping in. Um, yeah, I'm just explaining to the chat how I'm very gate and lay, because I allowed time to get away from me today and didn't actually do a video. So this is my making it up to everybody video. Um, Unfortunately, because I forgot how late we would be finishing, it is far too late for me to actually turn on any power tools. So I'm going to have to do a stream tomorrow as well to do some woodwork. I can show you a couple of mostly completed pieces. Let me just lift my camera here. Don't mind the gleam off the bald guy's head. For the record, I haven't shaved my head in a while because I'm going to grow out my winter coat for fun. So these are the two bookend horns that I'm making. Let me see if I can get those in the shot. There we go. Those are going to be, I have a little bit of sanding to do to take off that little last bit of smut. That was done to cover a tool mark. I could have used a water and rag method to just raise the mark, but didn't seem particularly necessary. And dear God, I'm so pale, I set off the chroma every time I lean in. So what'll be done with these is I'm going to, and I'll show you guys that now just a second. Got my hands full. What I'm going to be doing over here on the table saw, I'm going to be nicking the ends of these off, of this cedar board off at an angle, 90 degree, and then I'll mate those together, just glue them, and that'll form the body of the bookends that I'm making. Good God, that angle is terrible. There we go. That's not so bad. So I'll be essentially taking 2 slices off of this board. That'll be probably, I'm thinking 4 or 5 inches long. I'll know better once I actually do the cuts. But basically you'll have a shape like the edges of this square. And that'll be your bookends. And then about here, in more or less the middle of them, I'll be mounting those horns to those, and that's just going to be a decorator piece. All right, just bookends, just making something slightly pretty. Let's see, did I miss any chats? I did not. Excellent. Okay, let's see if we can't fix that angle a bit. So, went to the doctor today to get my blood test. Asked if I could get weighed. They said no. Oh well. I'm feeling a little off lately. I'm hoping it's just the change of the seasons and the commensurate lack of vitamin D. So if it is, then the increased dosage that I'm already taking for the winter is going to help. Yeah, part of the reason I haven't shaved my head lately is because I want to grow my hair out and see just how much salt and ginger I'm getting. I may grow it. The plan right now is to grow it until spring. It may look really, really bad by then, so I may end up taking it off well before Christmas even. And then again, I may not even make it through the vacation period I'm planning. Yeah, my plan right now is to take off. Christopher says he counts on me to keep shilling him, especially since I saw the popularity of the people she has on her stream. Yeah, Christopher does novels in French at the moment. He's working on getting his books translated. I've seen some of the artwork for his upcoming art book, which I'll be promoting on my stream on Sunday. My God, it's gorgeous. And I wouldn't be surprised if Yiz ends up poaching at least one image for one of the Discordant Dragons. But yeah, it is absolutely gorgeous imagery. And what little French I have has allowed me to read some of the text, and it does look very interesting from a fantasy fan's perspective. Speaking of fantasy fans, I've been rewatching the Dresden Files TV series. Now, before I'd ever heard of the books, I encountered this show. And very much like the show, because the idea of a wizard who uses it's urban fantasy, and the idea of a wizard based in Chicago who uses a drumstick for a wand and a hockey stick for a wizard's staff absolutely caught my attention. Um, then when you read the book, you discover, oh wow, they changed an awful lot. But the last episode I watched was called Stormfront, which was, if I recall correctly, the first book in the Dresden Files series. And uh, while it's, if you read it after reading, if you reread the series all the way through, which I've done a couple of times, you do see where the what will become Harry Dresden is not quite formed in Jim Butcher's mind in the initial characters, but they're very, very good. Let's see. Um, Harry DeWolf. I really wish I brought my phone out with me. I'd like to actually do a quick web search on Harry DeWolf, but I won't do that while I'm on stream with you guys. Not breaking the stream to do it anyway. Let's see. So yeah, the plan for tomorrow is to get these pieces cut. Um, I'm thinking I may burn the outside and then do the same process as I've been doing, the burn and the sand, and then varnish when it's all completely together. Um, but I'm vacillating a little bit between the idea of leaving the inner surfaces of the bookends, what will be holding the horns. I'm vacillating a little bit about leaving those unburned, just to leave them plain wood to have that contrast. And I think, well, I can show you the visual that I'm expecting I'll have simply by standing up, and I'll bring the camera over here. Don't have that plugged in, so that won't matter. Okay, let me just get the angle a bit better. So yeah, this, I need a brush. Just a second while I lean you back out of my way. Okay. Give that a quick brushing off. So what I'll end up with will be essentially the contrast between, and the plan is to have the green vertical. It's generally aesthetically pleasing. And put it there. So then you'd have this as the backing. So you'd have this really, really gorgeous cedar color behind it. This is red cedar. It's not the aromatic stuff, so it doesn't smell like cedar. If you're thinking about the way cedar smells, it doesn't smell like that. Plus, I think these boards probably have sat for quite a while. They've been certainly been transported from somewhere else. Cedar does not grow in Newfoundland. It's not one of our native species. Sasquatch, since you're here, you'll appreciate this. I took your advice and I made keychains. And those will be going up for sale on my Getter before too much longer. Let's see, what else have I got going on here? I'm toying with the idea, again, of potentially building, oof, talk about blowing out your chroma. I'm toying with the idea of producing something akin to a wizard's staff. With the amount of cedar that I have, I can certainly do one, if not two, of them. But what it will require is a certain amount of lamination. So what I will be doing is essentially splitting a piece, folding it together, gluing it, unfortunately. So it will be split, sand, glued, and then carved, basically, from that block that results. That would allow me to do, I think, as much as an inch and a quarter, possibly more. That's an inch, so it would be a 2-inch block, give or take. So yeah, once that gets sanded down, I could potentially even keep it as much as an inch and 3/4, maybe more, for circumference if somebody has a particularly big grip. Okay, just checking for messages. But yeah, other than that, it's really a case of what can I think of to keep myself busy, sort of thing. The price of lumber is just absolutely insane. I've got a 16-foot, I believe that's 16, it may be more. That's at least 8 feet there. I would say it was probably closer to an 18 or maybe even 24 foot board that I purchased. And uh, that cost me somewhere in the region of $20 or $25. It's extremely expensive to buy lumber here in Newfoundland anyway, and the price of lumber has not dropped as it was expected to do. Which, I mean, it puts a hell of a pressure on me to try and find little things to do. One of the other things I'm planning to do, because I still have quite a few small pieces of juniper left, my buddy Cass had suggested that I should try making whistles. And if, yeah, for example, like this piece here would be more than long enough to make a whistle out of. Even this piece, if I cut it really small, I could make a very high-pitched whistle out of it, potentially. Though I'm not 100% sure the process that I'd need to use. And I can look into exactly what would be involved with that at some point. What I'm seeing from the images I've seen, it looks like it's really just drill and carve. So that's easy enough for me to do. Well, saw, of course, because I have to saw the length, but saw, drill, carve, and should be fairly easy. What else do I have going on? I've got a drill press, so at some point I have to build a stand for it. I already have a piece that I can use for the top. I may purchase a couple of 2x4 to build just the frame for the stand, and that will probably end up in that corner over there. Potentially, I don't know for sure. But I do want to be very careful about filling up my space, because hopefully the price of lumber will drop enough that I can actually afford to buy some, and then I can go and start, filling some of the empty wall space with stored wood, so that I have a piece that I can just grab and start making. Unfortunately, who knows? So if you guys have any questions for me, now is very much the time. I really wish I could have done some sort of work for you guys, but right now I'm kind of up against needing to work on a piece of equipment, and my God, I keep blowing out the chroma. But I've really got to stop doing that. But I've got a few small projects. I have my mother's chair here in a tub that needs to get finished. That really isn't going to be terribly exciting on camera. It's mostly just going to be extremely tedious scraping initially. What I will do, I will probably do a video of the assembly and the final finish, which should be nothing more than a quick hand sand and then a varnish. Other than that, like I say, if you guys have any questions for me, let me know, or any comments you want to make. Getting a little bit headachy at this hour, which is unfortunate. I think the weather's probably just changing, and for some reason chat doesn't seem to be refreshing properly. Go to top chat. There we are. Okay. So for whatever reason my chat wasn't refreshing. Let me see if I can get live chat to work again. There we are. Okay, coming down. Yes, I'm off to bed soon. Just wanted to pop in and say hi before bed. Sorry I didn't see your goodnight friends message. Yes. Hopefully you're still here and you have a good night. That would have been a couple of minutes ago, I think. Yeah. Okay. Um, hang on. Did I get disconnected at some point? No. Okay. It's the timestamp is what that is. Okay, so that was 15 minutes ago that you said that. I'm sure she's gone by now. Um, okay, Kingdom of Inland says between Malamute and Husky, which sounds like the better destroyer name. Mm. Well, Husky does sound better, and it sounds like it would be easier to say on our radio. Christopher Everard says you can make the cosplay of the World of Warcraft player from South Park. Holy crap, did I ever blow out the chroma that time? Uh, I don't actually know what that looks like. Is that Butters? I fell off of watching. Um, I fell off of watching. I do see your messages now, Christopher. For some reason, the app wasn't working properly. It wasn't refreshing messages. Um, um, yeah, I fell off South Park. Oh gods, it might have been third or fourth season of South Park. About the time they released that album with Kyle's mom as a bitch on it. Which yeah, that's a long time ago. Let me see. Between Malamute and Husky, what do you think would be the better name for a guided missile destroyer designed for the Arctic? For a class or for the ship itself? For a class, I would say probably Husky. Let's see. Check Discord. I'm gonna guess that's an image from South Park. I'll definitely check Discord when I get off of here. Um, I think I'm going to aim for about. Oh, dear gods, I've got such a friggin' tension headache. I think I'm going to aim for a very hot shower after I'm done this. Anyway, trying to do a little bit of self chiropractic. It's not working. Let me see. Yeah, between Malamute and Husky. Uh, honestly, I couldn't say Kingdom. Husky does sound better to me though. Let me see. I wonder how the Avro Arrow would fare against the MiG 25. Were they contemporary? The MiG 25 is that the one with the kind of cut off nose? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Again, I really should have brought my phone out here with me. I think possibly I'm getting the headache from having had a blood test earlier today. And as you can see, they were nice enough to use the wrong kind of tape. I have a latex adhesive allergy, and yeah, that sucks. So yeah, I walked into the hospital today, and all of a sudden, some bitch stabbed me. um, but that may be where the headache is coming from. Is that tiny little bit of blood is kind of important. Let's see. How do I think the Avro Arrow would fare? Oh, massive engines. I don't know. And the worst thing is the Avro Arrow never really got enough of a shakedown to be broken in and uh, have the improvements that it really needed made to it. Like, yeah, it's one thing to say, oh well, it was a very advanced plane, but it's quite another to say it was a very advanced plane that never saw combat or never saw active use. Oh, there's the thought. That's cold. Oh, okay, that's actually kind of nice. Um, if you were to put a Canadian fighter pilot up against a Russian fighter pilot in roughly equivalent planes at the time, I honestly had to say that I think the Russian would have owned us. Um, Canada's Air Force is not exactly world class for the most part. Uh, yeah, I think we all wish the Arrow hadn't been cancelled. I also tend to wonder how many Germans were involved in the project sometimes. I'm sure it wasn't only the Americans who benefited from Project Paperclip or Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip. Yeah. Um, Let me see. Did I miss anything else? Years left. Glad to hear that 95% sure I'll make an interview. Cool. Harry DeWolf. I don't know who Harry DeWolf was, and it's not much of a shock that I don't. I'm not a huge war history buff, unless I'm listening to Sabaton. But yeah, the Arrow having been canceled is kind of a dark chapter in Canadian history. Not as dark as, say, the reason the Airborne Regiment was... Oh, what did I miss? I have a Rammstein meme about Operation Paperclip. Okay. Oh, now Arden is a Canadian. Well, you know. Sometimes. There are certain aspects of being a Canadian that I do appreciate. And it would be hypocritical of me to say that we should honor our white heritage and not honor my Canadian heritage. Though, to be fair, I do tend to prioritize the Newfoundland side of my heritage rather than the Canadian side. After all, I'm not an ethnic Canadian. I'm an ethnic Newfoundlander. Okay. Let's see. Christopher Everett says I'm of the same breed. No, I'm really not. Dev is, from what I've seen of him, he strikes me as much more mixed blood. I am pretty much full-on English, and like Norman and Saxon at that. Same breed as Dev. I used to follow Dev fairly closely. It would have been cool if the RCAF adopted the Tomcat. Yeah, we ended up with the Hornet instead. But when it comes to Short Fat Otaku, I have a feeling he's... Remind me that I emailed him for an ITW. He didn't answer. Oh, that sucks. The thing I think about Dev these days, and it's not that I don't respect him, it's that I think he's fallen into some of the same trap as Tim Pool. He's so determined to stay centrist that he's defying logic to do it. And to be honest, I haven't followed Tim Pool in quite a while, so it may be that Tim Pool has moved slightly more to the right, though I kind of doubt it. I think he's probably just gotten more pragmatic. Trying not to blow that directly into the camera. And I'll bring the microphone a little closer so I don't have to speak up quite as much. Let's see. Yeah, my feeling about Dev. I mean, I used to enjoy Dev's content when I first started being on YouTube. This was before I had started any channels. But as time has gone on, what I've noticed is that... holy crap. Am I blowing the chroma up? I haven't... Oh no, it's just when I put my head down. Okay. Hi, Scrimshaw. Nice to see you. So yeah, my thinking about Short Fat Otaku, it's kind of like with Tim Pool. I think he's so determined to stay centrist that that's become his identity. And the problem is that when you attempt to appeal to two different camps, they both end up hating you. Now, for a long time, I called myself a centrist as well, but since I've since then, my political attitudes have changed, and I would call myself much more of a definitely conservative, traditional. I do have very traditional values, um, and to be fair, I have Sargon of Akkad to thank for that, who apparently has started to become quite authoritarian since the Queen died, which is ironic. Um, Actually, in the last week or so, I've kind of fallen out of love with both the Lotus Eaters and the Louder with Crowder podcast. I've ended my subscriptions to both of them at this point. With Crowder, it's a combination of the cost, which, to be fair, I mean, $100 US doesn't sound like a hell of a lot for a year, but when you add the exchange rate every month, uh, well, no, sorry, that's wrong. I'm thinking about the Lotus Eaters. Um, let's see. Politics is always screwing stuff. That's why I try to get away from it as much as possible. I'm just doing my stuff, my art culture stuff. That's plenty to keep busy. Yeah. And I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Christopher. I would prefer that I didn't have to pay attention to it, that I could simply go about my day, do my job, do my work, and be fine. The problem is that in Canada, government interferes far too much. And that forced me to become political because I was unable to find work. I was unable to economically manage just doing woodworking. So I had to try to do something more. And that's why I'm on YouTube. Fortunately, I'm not making any money at that yet either, but who knows? Hopefully, I'll hit whatever level I need for monetization soon. If I don't, I don't. But right now, I'm scraping an existence. Uh, I wouldn't even say it was a comfortable scrape, but I'm not sliding further down at the moment. I'm stable, so at least it's something. Um, but yeah, I would far prefer that I had never heard the term postmodern or map or LGBTQ plus 2SIA Ramalama Ding Dong. But it is what it is at this point. Um, Kingdom, I think the reason Sargon is coming off to a lot of people as more authoritarian, and I will be fair, I will post check and change my comment. Um, I don't think he's necessarily become more authoritarian. I think it's more that he's kind of struck a point where, and it happens to everybody at least some of the times in your life, where you come to the point where your attitudes and what you're seeing kind of don't mesh, and you start thinking about what needs to be changed or how your feelings about things have changed. Um, Plus, with Carl, he's just had children. He's just had a third child. So he's got some very serious real world concerns. The same thing has happened with Steven Crowder. He's just had twins, which I believe are his first children. Uh, wow, two at once. Good job. But I'm sure that keeps him very focused. He strikes me as the kind of Christian fundamentalist sort. Excuse me. That would be very focused on being a good dad, and uh, I mean it's going to take some of the sharpness out of someone. Not that I think being a parent makes you duller. I think that it tends to make you rethink some of your actions because you have tiny lives that depend on you. So you tend to take a few less risks, I think, and that's perfectly admirable. For example, if I was the type of person who was in a wrestling match every week, and someone, and then I had kids, I'd be much less likely to take massive risks in the ring for the sake of entertainment. Saw another comment come in. Christopher Everard says, it appears to me that the Queen's death is pretty visceral for British people, especially since many foreigner or even English spit on her death. Yeah, I mean, for me, the Queen thing, and I've talked about it before, the family legend about how my last name is Windsor and the Queen's last name was Windsor, and the family joke about how, Dad used to call her cousin Betty and I would call her Aunt Liz. There is no actual relation there. My family has been in Newfoundland for roughly 300 years, and the Queen's family have only been Windsors for a little over 100. Their actual family name is Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, and I won't let them forget it. As for why it's very visceral, I mean, you have to realize that people in the English diaspora, Newfoundlanders among them, the Queen has been the Queen our entire lives for almost all of us, or for, by and large, the massive percentage of us. And I mean, when something is that constant in your life and suddenly it's gone, it's a bit of a shock. Like, it's going to be the same thing for a lot of people to a lesser degree when, say, Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, when these actors start to die, that's going to be kind of the death of the 80s culture. And I mean, when Sean Connery died, Sean Connery was one of my favorite actors. And he was the Bond. And, oh, you guys are actually getting more than half an hour out of me after all. But Sean Connery was, I mean, he was Bond to me. Now, I grew up watching more of the Roger Moore movies as they were coming out new. Like, I was 8 years old, I think, when View to a Kill came out, which was, if I recall correctly, Moore's last movie as Bond. And then Timothy Dalton took over for The Living Daylights, which I remember very clearly because of Nastassja Kinski. My God, that woman was amazing. And plus, I had a bit of a thing for cello at the time. Let's see. Yeah, and when Lemmy died, when Lemmy went, my God, that was terrible. Ozzy now is talking about how, yeah, and Connery just seemed to get better as he got older, and it's a real shame that it was dementia that took him. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which, if I recall correctly, was the last movie he was in, is one of my favorite comic book adaptations. If you read the comic, it's a lot different. And I will warn you now, you probably wouldn't enjoy it. But, I mean, it was a really good movie. It had a great cast. But, like, talking about, like, Lemmy and Sean Connery, I mean, when Keith Richards goes, that's going to be another case of people just going, wow, I had no idea Keith Richards was so important. Or if you look at politicians, for example, here in Canada, we have one of our constitutional framers still alive. That's Brian Peckford, who was the Premier of Newfoundland at the time. He's now currently at, I believe, 90 years old, embroiled in a lawsuit with the Canadian government over the COVID stuff. The travel restrictions specifically. Now, this is the guy who helped write the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And he's taking Trudeau to task, so that's just glorious. Also, Quebecers tend to absolutely hate Newfoundlanders, so that's also nice. Let me see. Yeah, Scrimshaw mentioned Sean Connery. Yeah, Connery was one of my favorite actors. Right, always will be. And I mean, guys like Peter O'Toole. Who else would be in that class? Michael Caine. I mean, Michael Caine is still around. But when Michael Caine dies, that's going to be another cultural loss. And I mean, when we start losing our culture, we start losing parts of our identity as people. Um, I mean, I've banged on about pop culture a lot. Uh, Superman, well, Superman's son, to be fair, but taking that character and suddenly making them gay for, no better than virtue signaling points is is an absolute insult to the fans. Uh, and I mean, even before that, you had Brie Larson when she was promoting the Captain Marvel movie, going around and saying, "Oh, I don't make movies for old white dudes, but I don't hate old white dudes." Bitch, who the fuck do you think built the industry you're in? Right? Uh, so yeah, I mean, just in my lifetime, I mean, movies, comics, music, it's all kind of gone to shit. Uh, the upside is that because the corporate stuff has gone to shit, the independent stuff is really coming along. If you're into blues or blues rock, go check out Adam Jensen. He's on YouTube. I'm certain I've got at least some of his stuff in one of my shared lists, one of my shared playlists on my channel. Uh, a personal favorite of mine is Sucker. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a liar in a red dress. That is an absolutely awesome song. Guys like the rapper Tom McDonald, my favorite song by him is Church, uh, which is ironic because it's actually an extremely heartfelt song and not one of his most popular. But we've got bands like Sabaton, who I do believe are signed corporately, but European corporations, when it comes to music, seem to be a little less woke than a lot of them. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, even like novels are getting absolutely terrible. Uh, yeah, I'm not surprised that you like Church, Scrimshaw. It's a very good song. Sabaton is really mainstream. Would not trust them. Metal is not what it used to be. Yeah, the thing that I like about Sabaton is that they're really more concerned with storytelling and history. I really appreciate that, especially from a metal perspective. Like, one of the things I started watching Razor Fist for was his metal mythos. And then I discovered the depths of Deep Space Nine series, which I'm really disappointed he's not making anymore. Or if he is making it, I haven't seen it in a long time. Um, but and it's quite possible that Paramount went after him. Hi, Holly. Nice to see you. Um, yeah, I'm just kvetching about pop culture. Uh, Christopher says metal has a really strong history scene. Trust him, he's a metal encyclopedia. Awesome. Um, oh, good God, I gotta stop putting my head down. I blow out the chroma every time. I'm sure I just blinded at least two people. Oh, hi, Earl. Nice to see you. I'm just doing a short little chill stream while to make up for the fact that I didn't make a video at all today. Uh, as I said earlier, I intended to make a video after supper today, doing a little bit of woodwork out here in the shed. I've got just a couple of more steps to go to finish off uh, those. Oh, good God, the bookends. I'll get there eventually. Little tired, little headachy. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, Earl just mentioned Sabaton, Powerwolf, and Heilung. I've heard of Heilung. I don't know that I've ever heard of Powerwolf. Uh, Christopher says his favorite Tom McDonald song is Best Rapper Ever, both about ambition and mental struggle. Yeah, yeah, that's another one that's right up there on my list. Um, I did like Clown World. I mean, how good a lyric is Burn the Circus Down because the world is full of clowns? I even quoted that tonight on Yiz's stream. I don't know if anybody caught it. Um, I didn't see if anybody referenced it back to me or anything, so. Um, but yeah, a lot of the cultural institutions, like movies, music, literature. A lot of it has really, really suffered in the last decade and a half. And I don't know if it's standard slipping or if it's some other agenda. I tend to suspect there's another agenda at play. But standards have definitely slipped. I mean, even the local news occasionally has glaring typos in some of their chyrons. And I don't understand how you can live in a world where there's spell check and asshole grammar Nazis like me and get away with that. Especially when you're trying to do something that should be ideally professional, like a newscast. Holly says she's been on a 90s movie binge, currently rewatching Star Trek Next Generation for the umpteenth time. I've tried to rewatch Next Generation a few times. I find it doesn't hold my attention quite as well as DS9. I've always been a bigger DS9 fan. And I think probably because Sisko punched Q, and that was just a glorious moment. If you're interested in older movies, Holly, one that I would absolutely suggest to you, Four Lights. Yeah, that was an amazing scene, an amazing show. Actually, that entire episode was great. But if you're interested in an older movie from the 80s, The Last Unicorn is a really good one. That's on Tubi, TUBITV.com. And there's also a mobile app for it. Let me see here. Christopher Everard, the message, yeah, I hear you, is really strong. It's, yeah, stifling is exactly right. The political correctness, the wish to never offend anybody and to make everybody feel represented is literally stifling creativity. Writers who are worth their salt just will not engage in a writer's room that promotes that kind of thing, so your quality goes down. Holly says she'll be heading to DS9 after. Excellent. And Christopher says, the only time when I do a bit of political stuff because I hate it, keep entertainment and art clean. Not necessarily clean, but try to keep it at least somewhat neutral. And try to give it broad appeal. I mean, the whole point of writing a novel is to know who your audience is. Making a film, same thing. If you don't have a specific audience in mind and all you're doing is trying to cater to everybody, you aren't going to really appeal to anybody. Look at and another thing too that Hollywood tends to do, it seems to take the wrong message, the wrong lesson from certain things that are successful. For example, Deadpool. The first Deadpool movie was an absolutely perfect adaptation. It was glorious. It was the character to a T. And Ryan Reynolds, if you had ever seen the third Blade movie, Blade Trinity, yeah, the character's name was Hannibal King. He was fucking playing Wade Wilson, as he did in the X-Men movie, Origins, Wolverine. But the Deadpool movie was such a brilliant piece of work because they adapted from the source material. They honored the source material so well. And the problem is that the studios, rather than take the lesson of, oh, if we actually adhere to the good story, to the good lore, then we'll be successful. No, the lesson they took was, oh, well, people want it to be gory and profane and gross. No, that wasn't what we wanted. We didn't want it gritty. If we wanted gritty, we'd watch a Batman movie. If we wanted gritty, we'd watch Charles Bronson in Death Wish. If we wanted... the lesson that Hollywood tends to take from things is almost always the wrong thing. When they see, oh, fans really flock to this R-rated Deadpool movie, let's make a Justice League movie that's R-rated. No, you fucking retards. Superman is supposed to be a spirit of light. What's wrong with you? I'm getting a little ranty over that. The way Superman's been treated lately is it's gross, to be honest. It's sickening. Um, Superman Returns. Brandon Routh, he did a good job. He really did actually look the part, act the part, kind of feel like Superman. Uh, but you could see the wokeness was creeping in there because he wasn't particularly manly. He was certainly super. He just wasn't particularly manly. Uh, to be honest, the most manly character in that movie was Lex Luthor. He literally straight up prison shanked Superman with a piece of kryptonite. Right? Which, I mean, great job whoever wrote the scene, because you've got Lex Luthor actually, acting like someone who's been through prison. Let me see. Holly says she loves that movie, seen it many, many times, and made each of my kids watch it. I know all the songs. Oh, The Last Unicorn. Yeah. Yeah, The Last Unicorn. I watched it not too long ago on Tubi. And, I mean, I very vaguely remembered it from when I was a kid, but I still enjoy it. Um, what else? And I mean, I was very much a boyish boy, so I was more into the ninja movies or uh, not so much the Rambo movies. The first Rambo movie, I watched it, but I didn't really understand it when I was a kid. I've watched it since, and it's probably the best in the series. Um, but things like American Ninja or the Shokasugi Ninja movies, uh, Chuck Norris, Clint Eastwood. I mean, Josie Wales was me and my father's favorite movie to sit down and watch together. Um, I've actually never seen the Bakshi Lord of the Rings all the way through. I've seen parts of it, but never actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I really wish I had. Speaking about respecting the source and your stakes, the first two Blade movies were great, and it was Blade on the screen. Love them. Um, well, I mean, the '90s was a bit of a funny time too, but oh, Fistful of Dollars, yeah, Fistful of Dollars was good. Uh, uh, High Plains Drifter, uh, Outlaw Josie Wales, um, oh my, Pale Rider. That was the one I was thinking of. Those three together, I really like. Um, and I like how you can go back and theorize about some of these characters. Pale Rider, for example, a lot of people say, no, that's the spirit of death, or it's a guy who's been killed before, or what have you. And of course, that's supposed to explain the scarf around his neck. For a few dollars more, I saw that about a year or so ago for the first time and did enjoy it. Um, Not quite the same watching a Clint Eastwood movie without Dad around. Um, True Grit, the remake of True Grit, I actually really enjoyed. I have seen the original, and I've seen Rooster Coburn, or Cogburn, if you like the slightly more Americanized pronunciation. Um, yeah. Speaking to Christopher about the '90s, I mean the '90s were really where the let's be as gritty as we can, and that meant what, leather and really dark uh, lighting. It's not how gritty works. But again, that's a filmmaker who doesn't understand where the gritty actually has to come from the writing. Um, Now that said, I loved the first Blade movie. I really liked the second one. Norman Reedus is great. Go see the Boondock Saints if you haven't. Um, which I think might actually be on Tubi, but it might only be the second one, which is nowhere near as good. Um, yeah, with the first couple of Blade movies, the dystopian movies like Children of Men. Well, that's actually newer than '90s. What am I thinking of for the '90s? Johnny Mnemonic. Um, which, yeah, that's a writer, William Gibson, that I really like. Yeah, Holly, if someone asks me to recommend a movie that I think is fundamentally masculine, I always suggest Boondock Saints. Um, 90s dystopian movies. Johnny Mnemonic comes to mind, but that's because I read a lot of William Gibson. Um, hmm, this headache is really starting to kick my ass. Um, let me see. 90s dystopian movies. Trying to remember. But anyway, to go back to my point I was making about Blade, uh, he was significantly changed from the comics, not in a bad way. Uh, oh, The Running Man. That's actually a Stephen King story. Demolition Man is dystopian, absolutely. Um, Judge Dredd, Judge Dredd was such a bad movie. And at the time, none of us had the slightest idea of how bad it really was. And then one of my British friends, I mentioned it to him because I knew that Judge Dredd was a British comic. Yeah, Demolition Man is definitely dystopian. But, well, that's right. There we go. RoboCop. I don't know that I'd call Starship Troopers necessarily dystopian. Uh, that was kind of a flawed satire. RoboCop, yeah, definitely dystopian. I'd buy that for $1. Yeah. Um, that's another thing too. I mean, you would never expect Eric Foreman's dad to be the guy who shot some cop in the head, but he was. Um, yeah, Demolition Man was a prediction. Gods. Uh, a better Demolition Man than RoboCop. Though then again, if you look at the state of Detroit these days, yeah. Idiocracy is actually one of those movies that a lot of people reference that I've never actually seen. Um, I'm thinking I probably missed something for that. But yeah, if you haven't read William Gibson, I recommend him. I also recommend Spider Robinson as kind of a back-to-back thing because Gibson will blackpill you, especially these days. Whereas Robinson does such great puns, it's just glorious to watch it. Uh, Source Respect with Constantine. Oh, gods. Um, it would be so nice if we could get something in between uh, the movie Constantine and the TV show Constantine. Because Matt, what's his last name? The guy who plays Constantine on the TV shows. Matt, I want to say Ryan, but I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, I was a fan of the books as well. Um, Keanu was a good Constantine, but that was Keanu acting as Keanu. And it just so happened that he fit the Constantine character. Kind of like, and God, I feel bad for the poor guy, but Josh Brolin. Ever since he made Young Riders, he's been typecast as a Western guy so many times. Uh, Even No Country for Old Men is essentially a Western. But if you haven't seen it, Jonah Hex is actually a pretty good movie if you're not too invested in the source material. Um, what else have we got going on here? Um, yeah, Blade and Constantine were changed. The adaptation was accurate. Uh, yeah, the spirit of the show was there, or of the source material was definitely there. I mean, the snarky attitude that Reeves's Constantine had was really good. Uh, yeah, Matt Ryan, I believe, is the guy's name for the Legends of Tomorrow and the Constantine show. Um, oh, another good show that I am amazed it lasted as long as it did was Supernatural. I've only seen, I think, the first 8 or 10 seasons, and I really need to go back and look at that. Speaking of good comic book TV, Lucifer is actually really, really good, and I know Christopher will agree with me. He uses Lucifer's image as his avatar. Uh, I absolutely love what's the actor's name? Tom Ellis. Absolutely love him as Lucifer. He's so good. Taboo was a great show. If you can't get Hulu in Canada, uh, which is irritating as hell. Also can't get HBO Max, which means I can't watch House of the Dragon yet. Well, I could. Yar. But I don't really want to take the chance on downloading things that might cause me problems with doing things like this. And from what I understand, House of the Dragon is actually surprisingly good. I've seen a couple of clips from it, and it was good. Lucifer was changed from the source material. Yeah, but as I understand it, Neil Gaiman had quite a bit of input, so the soul of the source material was still there. That's what Rings of Power didn't understand. Yeah, I've seen a couple of clips from Rings of Power. I have no interest in that show, mostly because of what Amazon did to the Wheel of Time. I think I lasted an entire maybe 2 minutes into Wheel of Time, trying to give it a chance. Devil's Advocate was a good movie. That was that Keanu? That was Keanu. Keanu and Pacino. Now, there's another actor that when he goes, it's going to be another cultural loss, is Al Pacino. I mean, he's a bit of a caricature these days, but he was an amazing actor in his time. For the younger guys, it's going to be people like DiCaprio. I mean, I love DiCaprio in almost everything he's done. Hubby is laughing along with you about Wheel of Time, I would imagine, right? Yeah, I don't even know what the scene was that made me go, okay, I've had enough of this shit. I think it was the first time one of the Aes Sedai spoke. That was the end of it. Like, yeah. And I mean, The Wheel of Time was such an epic series. I know there are people who have their issues with it. I've got some too. I very much forgive poor Robert Jordan because, well, the man did have a stroke. But still, you had a stroke and you left Matt Cawthon playing cards for an entire book. Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, we were talking about Wheel of Time and Rings of Power. Just banged my elbow on the table saw. Let me see. Talking about things that have been remade. Oh, I still never finished my point about the 90s. In the 90s, like you had comic books where everybody was fucking dying. First they killed Superman, then they went, oh, this was really successful, let's kill Batman. Then they went, hey, that was kind of successful too, let's kill Green Lantern. And then it was, oh, wait, we gotta kill, please stop. Now, granted, my favorite comic book character of all came out of killing Batman, and that's Azrael. I didn't particularly care for the Azrael Batman, but the character John Paul Valley, from his initial appearance in Sword of Azrael, all the way through his comic book series that he had, I absolutely love that character. This new white and red thing that they did for a while, didn't care for that. Hated the Azrael in Gotham. That was so bad. And I think they did Justice League Odyssey, where they put Azrael in space. No, Azrael is more like Daredevil. He should have been on the ground. But the thing that I really liked about Azrael was that he had a massive identity crisis when he discovered what actually created him. And I mean, one of the things that comics is absolutely known for is one company following the other company's lead. Marvel does a massive crossover, DC does a massive crossover, bada 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 bada. And Then Marvel did a redesign or a rebranding. DC did a rebranding. And then DC discovered, oh wow, nobody likes this new rebranding. We have to change it again. And then about a year later, they realized, oh, nobody likes this either. Change it again. Uh, that was when they went from standard DC to New 52, and I think there was 2 or 3 different iterations within a few years. And then they just did crisis after crisis after crisis. Then Marvel did the zombies thing, and DC had to do the zombies thing. Please stop. One of the things I did really like that DC did was branch out to other franchises. For example, like Batman versus Predator was good. Batman versus Ninja Turtles, not so much. Batman Ninja was just freaking weird. And one of the things I really liked about, like, when we had the MCU back before Phase 4 or Stage 4, however you want to describe it, but back when, like, Iron Man, Thor, even Thor the Dark World, if you look at that now compared to Captain Marvel, it's such a better movie. And I mean, the characterization of Loki in that movie is so good. They really did a lot of great character building with Loki, and then they fucked it completely with the series. Gods, I hated that show. But back when we had the initial stages of the MCU, which was a gloriously well put together series and should have ended at Endgame, they should have gone, okay, we did Endgame, let's do something new. Let's, go buy the X-Men. Let's go get the Fantastic Four and start a new series of movies. And every few years, if they had done it a decade at a time or 8 years at a time, they could have started a storyline. They didn't need to do origins anymore. So they could have started a new storyline, created any number of amazing interconnected universes, and then ended them, and then done it again, and again, and again. But at the time that they were doing the first phases of the MCU, DC was absolutely killing it with the animated movies. What? Batman under the Red Hood. Great movie. A bunch of the Justice League movies. Even the newest Justice League Dark movies are good. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, not so good. Justice League Dark, really good. And really, really showcased Constantine very well. Let's see. Oh, wow. I've had a bunch of skips here. Let me just roll down here. Devil's Advocate. Hubby's laughing along with me. Soundtrack is probably the only good thing about the Rings of Power because the guy behind the... Oh, Bear McCreary. Yeah, he did a great job with Battlestar. Holly, if you ever want to get on a live stream with Hubby and I to talk about Wheel of Time, you could talk for hours. I really don't remember that series as well as I should. Kingdom of Vinland, the music of Rings of Power is really bland. It's not that memorable. It's good, but not that good. What did you think of the Battlestar Galactica? Oh, Prime Knight popped in. Hi, Primed. Nice to see you. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica's soundtrack was awesome. Holly says Rangs O' Power is slow, poorly written and acted. The dwarves are fun, though, until the queen starts singing to the mountain. Dwarves don't sing like that. If you want to hear actual dwarven music, go check out the Song of Durin by Clamavi de Profundis. I've got that on pretty much a constant loop on one of my playlists. Every time it comes on in the car, I try to sing along. My wind is not that good, but my God, is that a good song. Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon was great. I don't know if I'd go as far as say great. I think it was good. Kingdom says, as far as he's concerned, Marvel ended with Endgame. Yeah. Christopher says he's going to bed. Have a good night, brother. Sorry I missed that. That was probably 2 or 3 minutes ago at least. Yeah, a couple of minutes. Flashpoint. Flashpoint was very good. Red Hood is one of your favorite DC characters. I like the character. Diggy Diggy Hole Windrose? What? Heavy lightning here sounds like bombs going off. Yeah, one of the things I really miss from living in Alberta, because the land is so flat for so much area, you can see a lightning storm, a thunderstorm coming hours before it gets to you. And it's one of the most spectacular things you can see in nature. The Northern Lights, same thing. Uh, let's see. Kingdom of Inland says Endgame was just a good place to end the Marvel stuff. Yeah, very much. Speaking of ending, I really need to pee. This headache is kicking my ass. And while I only intended to do half an hour, I've already done over 70 minutes. So, Windrose is power metal with dwarven style. I'll have to have a look at that. Yeah, Holly agrees with me about the Alberta storms. I will end on this little anecdote though, Holly. Um, I used to get dragged to the rodeo all the time. Well, every year, and every single year I always bailed well before the thing ended, because every year I'd look up and the clouds were doing this, and I'm not hanging out for that. No, no, I'm from Newfoundland, but I know what a friggin' funnel cloud forming looks like. Um, have a great night. Drink some water. Been sucking the water down really hard. Hi, Double at 22. Uh, just about to end, unfortunately. So I appreciate everybody that came in. I will make sure that this stream is made public as soon as I end it. And yeah, I will be doing a stream sometime tomorrow. I just don't know what time yet. And I will try to make sure I get my I will make sure I get my video out in the morning as well. Didn't know there were rodeos in Canada. Oh yeah, no, Western Canada is crazy about their rodeo. Western Canada is the most American part of the country. Okay, so cheers, Earl. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day, night, evening, morning, what have you. And I hope you continue to. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.